Hi everyone, Sid here again, inviting you to his bathroom once again. Tonight's lather will be taken vanilla, i.e. I won't be adding anything to it. Today's topic, I'd like to get into something that's, it's a symptom of a switch in my mentality that I consciously engaged in, I forget how long ago, a couple months maybe. And this is something that I think is kind of tragic, that not enough people think in these terms often enough to my liking, which is part of why I'm talking about it tonight. I'd like to talk about negotiation versus compromise. I don't think that, well, actually I was going to repeat myself. Let me start by defining terms, to which I will go to my favorite source for that shit, which is Webster.com. Webster.com defines compromise as a way of reaching agreement in which each person or group gives up something that is wanted in order to end an argument or dispute. And the same dictionary defines negotiation as a formal discussion between people who are trying to reach an agreement. So right there you can see that compromise is a narrower scope than negotiation. And the reason this nuance is important to me is because a couple months ago I made the conscious decision that I was really going to focus on trying to find the win-win. Whenever there's an apparent disagreement in a discussion or a conversation in general. And I think that when people think in terms of compromise, which is, again, way too often for my liking, you're kind of already agreeing that, you know what, I have position A, you have position B, so let's just figure out a way that we can both get something that kind of sucks for both of us, but that doesn't suck so much that we're not willing to go through with whatever deal or agreement that we're trying to reach. Again, you're trying to end an argument or dispute. I would broaden that just a little bit and say that you're basically trying to end a negotiation. And I think that when you are engaged in a true negotiation where both people are trying to find the win-win, which isn't always the case, but a true, honest, open negotiation, sometimes for whatever reasons, most often time constraints, when an agreement still can't be reached, then it becomes time to say, you know what, fuck it, let's see if we can compromise. Now, one of the things that is really necessary in order to have a negotiation that doesn't need to resort to compromises is that both parties, let's just make this a two-party conversation. I know that sometimes there are negotiations between three or more parties, but let's just keep this simple. All of this holds when there are more than two parties involved. Both parties have to be genuinely curious as to what the real motivations or what the real goals of the other party is or are. Because sometimes when your stated goal is just a means to an end, where you're trying to really reach something. So there's your small g goal, which is what you're explicitly going after in the conversation. Whereas your big G goal is what you think your small g goal will provide you. So I think that in order to for a real negotiation to be possible, both people have to be curious enough to at least find out more about what's really going on with the other party. And I think what I just said, it hinges on the C word, which is curiosity. Actually, there are two C words in this rant, which are compromise, obviously, and curiosity. I think that when two people have an obvious disagreement at the beginning of a conversation, another C word, but let's ignore that one. that when an obvious disagreement is present, and one person immediately states this and says, well, let's see if we can compromise. That person is sadly lacking imagination in the moment. And I think it's tragic. And like, one of my theories is that most of us spend way too much time and have grown up in contexts where all disagreements are resolved in a win-lose way. Whereas a negotiation, you're really, again, an open and honest negotiation where one person isn't just trying to bully the other person, which happens too. Basically, a true open and honest negotiation, both parties are really looking for the win-win. And you can't find a win-win that's not obvious if you're not curious to find out more. And something that I've often used in the past weeks and months is to just openly state it. Like, the number of times that I've explicitly used the sentence, you know what, we're two smart, creative people, I'm sure we can find a win-win, has helped me out a lot. And I think that to just know that when your first reflex is to go for the compromise, you're actually not doing that, is the first step in guiding you towards having more win-win resolutions in your life. So as I mentioned, the real fulcrum of all this is curiosity. I think that, and I was thinking of this while I was lathering up my mouth area, is the good C word, curiosity, is the main thing that will help you avoid the bad C word, which is compromise. Because again, if you're looking for a compromise, you've basically given up on the win-win, which is why me personally, I'll do everything I can to avoid compromise. I think that obviously if you're in an open negotiation, and there are ways to tell when the person you're talking to is basically a bully or not, and there'll definitely be some videos on how to detect and deal with bullies and manipulators, that explicitly appealing to creativity and curiosity will help find that win-win. Because you'd be surprised in how often a situation that doesn't have an obvious win-win the win-win will reveal itself once both parties are looking for it. And sometimes it involves rethinking what your goals are. But again, and I've just realized this now, it's cool to be curious about what the other party's big G goal is, but the curiosity can help you realize what your own big G goal is, and what would otherwise be a compromise if both parties weren't curious will turn into a win-win, because you'll say, oh, you know what, yeah, I like veggie pizza, but really the only thing I care about is the olives. And let's say the other person likes olives too. So in a non-curious conversation, this would be a compromise, but in the context of curiously looking for the win-win, it becomes a real negotiation. So that's about it. I mean, the cool thing for me is that I have daily opportunity to try this out, because I work in sales, and sales by definition is a win-win agreement, assuming that one person can just force a deal on the other person. That may or may not be another video also, but yeah, I mean, the number of times that I've said to clients, like, pro Raza White, that I said to clients or colleagues, like, I'm sure there's a win-win in here somewhere. I really wish that I had $1 for every time I said that, and if I play my cards right, maybe someday I actually will. Because, and this is just an aside, assuming that neither party can just force the deal that he or she wants onto the other party, the only way to be successful in sales in the long run is to really serve the needs of the other person. Obviously, you have to honor your own needs, because if you don't, you eventually won't be there to negotiate in the future. Yeah, I think that to just recognize that when you're looking for a compromise, you're lacking curiosity in that moment, and that will be a key factor to get more win-win in your life, which will get you more win-wins, and it can become this awesome, virtuous cycle. So, thanks for watching. This is one of the smoothest finishes in a while, so I'm happy. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter @SidRockMTL. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next shave. Later.